Hey, good morning, sixth graders. It is Tuesday, January 12th. Again, we have 19 days before January is over, and suddenly we're into February, and then suddenly we're into March, and holy cow, spring is upon us. Should be a beautiful day. Today, your work will be a lot in class. So, today we're going to do in class, we're going to do a little share out. We're going to review limericks. I noticed some problems with that. And then poetry vocab. We're going to have some more of that, and then break, and then some more practice in class. But there will be only an optional assignment today. So those of you that are at home, you don't actually have any work today, as long as you go through this lesson. Okay. So first things first, I want to review the limerick for today. Here's the thing. I noticed that you guys were overdoing it. So a limerick is short. So we talked about this. The rhyme scheme is AABBA. It's only 5 lines, short and sweet, and it's often silly. But here's the thing I failed to do. This is my problem. A limerick is 10 syllables plus 10 syllables plus 5 syllables plus 5 syllables and plus 10 syllables. So we're not talking about a long poem. It's designed to be short. I didn't stress that yesterday, and that's my fault. Now, I say 10. It's got to be around that. So if you think about my example yesterday, we know the rhyme scheme is AABBA. Yep. So there's a limerick. But there once was a frog with a hat. That's 9 syllables, right? So it's around 10. He leaped into a pond with a cat. That's 10 syllables. So that fits that model, actually. Change that. They jumped and they played, that's 5 syllables, until the sun went away. That's 7. It's close enough. It doesn't have to be perfect. Then the cat ate the frog just like that. 9 syllables. You guys are writing way too much. A limerick is short. It's a total of somewhere around 40 syllables total. All right, that isn't that much. So I think you guys were really overshooting. You were writing long poems. It's got to be short. A limerick, to be a limerick, has to be short. It is 10 plus 10 plus 5 plus 5 plus 10, or really close to that. All right. Now, yesterday's, just to remind you, was yesterday's poetry vocabulary with these 5 words. So if you don't have them, pause the video, write these down in your reader's notebook where it says mini lessons. Today's work is right here. So we have 5 more words. We have stanzas, we have enjambment. Ooh, that sounds crazy. Rhythm, meter, and free verse. Okay, so just to go over it, stanzas, we'll go over that in a little bit. But at this point, if you would pause the video and write these down. Okay, now I'm going to go through these. What are stanzas? So stanzas are the paragraphs of a poem. And they can be any length. And truly, there's no rule. You get to decide. If you want to make all of your stanzas 4 lines with A, B, A, that's fine. If you want to make your stanzas all different lengths, that's fine. If you want to make your stanzas rhyme or not, that's fine. Poets get to decide all this. So if you think about this one, this is a poem I wrote. Tongue as dry as desert sand, stomach churning from fear, my body an icicle in warm gyms. So that's 3 lines, no rhyming. There's no rhyming pattern there. Second stanza, wrestling is a sport of Greek gods, Hercules wrestles in books. Okay, 2 lines, random. Fat melting, muscles building, strength sapping, yellow gem lights, scribbling out each date and match with Sharpie, nervousness eats me up inside. That's 4 lines. So if you think about this, the only thing separating these to stanzas is that line right there. It's an extra space. Stanzas are your control. They can be whatever length you want. You can change them. I could rewrite this. I could change it up so that these are all the same. I can make this 1 stanza. It's up to me, but I decided that this is how I wanted to organize it. That's your choice. That's stanzas. Now, enjambment sounds crazy, but really it's this simply this. It's when you choose to end a sentence in a poem, because poems, as you know, do not look like this, although some of you did that. Okay, a poem with no enjambment, this is some way some of you wrote yesterday. They're just sentences written like a paragraph, like you would a book. But enjambment is when you decide when to break the line. So tongue is dry as desert sand. I want to put a comma there. I'm going to break the line and go to the next one. Stomach churning with fear. Still a comma. The sentence isn't over. My body an icicle in warm gyms. There's the end of the sentence. So enjambment is simply deciding when I want to hit return and change the line. So enjambment would look like this. Tongue is dry as desert sand. That's where I want to change the line. Now I have not ended the sentence, but I've turned over to the next line. That's my enjambment. And then if you see this, there's my stanza. That's all that enjambment is taking and making a sentence spread out over multiple lines rather than writing like you do where it just keeps going and you put a period at the end. Okay? Now, enjambment is just choosing that moment. All right, rhythm and meter. So now we're back up to here. We're down with these rhythm and meter. Now, rhythm and meter is a good example of this word download. Right? If you say this word download, that's how it sounds. Meter and so rhythm, meter really we're talking about is stressing and unstressing. Punch, not punch. And in the world of rhythm and meter, this symbol is like a stress symbol, like boom. And then this one, this little half circle is soft. It's not stressed. So if you think about how I say this word, I say download. Right? That's how I say it. Download. Stress, unstressed. What if I flipped it? Download. Sounds weird, right? Download. Download. Unstressed, stress. That's not how we say that word. And if you did, you'd be like, that sounds weird. So we do talk in stressed and unstressed syllables, and rhythm and meter really just add to that. So rhythm is like the beat. Right? Meter is actually taking the words and giving them stress. So let's give you an example. Limericks are very strong rhythm and meter. So the rhythm is da-dun, 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 da-da, da-dun, da-da, da-dun, 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 da-da. That's the rhythm. That's the beat. The meter is da-dun, 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 da-dun. So here's an example. The way you say a limerick is, there was an old man of Peru. And if you think about it, there was an old man of Peru. So even parts of words come together. Like part and old is two words, but they kind of offer, they exist in the same unstressed moment. An old, not an old or an old. It's an old man. That's where the stress is. Okay. So let's read it again. There was an old man of Peru who dreamed he was eating a shoe. He awoke in the night with a terrible fright and found it was perfectly true. So that is part of poetry. Having a beat, having a rhythm. Dr. Seuss does this all the time. And it's what happens when the words change. Like, this is what happens. Think about how there was an old man from Peru who dreamed he was eating a shoe. He awoke in the night with a terrible fright and found it was perfectly true. See how like that has a rhythm and a meter? What if we change the words? Let me do this. There was a very old man living in Peru who dreamed he was eating his left shoe. He awoke in the dark late at night with a terrible fright and found it was absolutely true. It's harder to get that rhythm and meter when you're just writing words. So you do have to choose. Like the author here took something like this and there was a very old man living in Peru and changed it to there was an old man of Peru. That's what you do with poetry. All right. Lastly, let's take a look at a couple examples. This one is from the Raven, which we talked about yesterday. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary. So it'd be once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary. So if you think about it, that actually changed, right? This one starts with unstressed. There was. This one, once upon. So we actually started with a stress there. Now that's what this is all about, okay? Is that it is really about like changing up when you decide to stress things. Well, here's another one. This one starts with an unstressed. Two households both alike in dignity. There's 3 unstressed and stressed syllables in dignity. That's playing with those things. In fair Verona, where we lay our scene. There's that meter. And here's another one. This is a Dr. Seuss, who's amazing at this. He's a little different. And this is actually a story about Hitler. Here's a kid's book that is really a representation of Hitler. And today the great Yertle, that marvelous, he is king of the mud. That is all he can see. So there we have that rhythm again. Okay? Now, do want you to I'm going to put these links. I want you to watch these free verse poems today because free verse is our last, think about it, our last thing right here. A poetry style not confined by rhyme or meter. There is rhythm and patterns to the poetry. Actually, truthfully, it's really not confined by rhyme, right? Free verse doesn't have to rhyme, but you do play with words and you play with word choice. All right. So let's give you an example here. This one I want you to listen to. This is a very powerful poem about who we are and how we treat each other. There's total rhythm and meter to the poetry, and you'll see when he does it. And then this one is another one I want you to listen to, is more free verse. This is slam poetry. This is about bacon. And it's again, it's got rhythm, it's got meter, it's got like stressed and unstressed, but it doesn't follow. There is some rhyming, there is, but it's not confined to it. You can't really pick out a rhyming pattern. So free verse is why I love poetry. So I want you to listen to those two today. And so here's the thing for today. Bonus. If you would like, you could try a free verse plus rhythm poem. So I'm going to challenge you. Think of your average day in school at a lunch, like the average school lunchroom. You guys have been through them. They're crazy. I want you to think of as many images as you can from an average day in the lunchroom and write a 10-line free verse poem that shows these images in a dynamic manner. What I mean by that is like, be bold. Dynamic is like things happen, crazy things happen, big things happen. And I want you to try to include rhythm and meter, which really requires word choice. So for instance, if I start with this, yelling, laughing, shouting voices, splitting my ears, I could play with like yelling, laughing, shouts, voices, splitting my ears. Like I might switch that up. Yelling, laughing, shouts, voices, splitting my ears. Suddenly I've got more of a rhythm there versus what I had before, which is yelling, laughing, shouting, voice, splitting my ears. It doesn't have the same same sound for me. So I might split that up. That's what you do. So you're welcome to send it to me. This is bonus. You don't have to. Bottom line is today, actually, just because there's so much to do, like I want you to watch those videos, is no work today. I want you to read for fun, but you've learned a lot. You've got 5 more words in your workbook for vocabulary, and we talked about some more poetry. So there you go. That's for today. I will see you all on Thursday, and please email me with questions.